It's the most wonderful time of the year. It's Wingspan season. The names you need to know from the NBA Draft Combine today on Locked On Magic.
You are Locked On Magic, your daily Orlando Magic podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And you are indeed Locked On Magic. Today is May 15th. Wow, it's already May 15th, 2026. My name is Philip Rossman-Reich. I'm the senior writer over at OrlandoMagicDaily.com. Today's episode of Locked On Magic is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. On today's episode of Locked On Magic, I'm going to react to something that was brought up on Locked On NBA yesterday about one of the big decisions the Magic have. They reacted to me. I'm going to react to them. We'll talk about Anthony Black and how he fits into the Magic's equation this summer, what the Magic's true needs are. But oh yes, it got my singing voice out. It is time, that wonderful, magical time of year. I think we're far enough away from the series that we could start thinking about the future a little bit. It is that wonderful, wonderful time of year. It is Wingspan season. That's right, kids. The NBA draft is here. The NBA draft combine was this week with the scrimmages wrapping up on Thursday. We've got the official measurements for all the big prospects in the NBA, in this NBA draft. And while the Magic don't have a first-round pick, first time since 2011 or 2012 that the Magic do not have a first-round pick, will not use a first-round pick this year. Enter the draft with the first-round pick is what I meant to say. It has been a long time. And so while the Magic don't have a first-round pick, you still have to go through the draft process. The Magic were in Chicago for the combine, I assume. I imagine they probably set up some interviews with some people, maybe put some lines out to some other teams. Trade talks are already underway as we get ready for the offseason. Remember, it was Father's Day, mid-June, during the NBA Finals that the Magic made the Desmond Bane trade. I'm not expecting anything that soon, but the Magic should be active around the draft. The offseason is already here, and the offseason processes have already begun. So while the Magic only have the number 46 pick in this year's draft, the Magic don't have a first-round pick to use. So forget those top 20 guys. We'll talk about a few of them. I think there's potential the Magic could trade back into the bottom half of the first round, but the Magic only have the number 46 pick, and that really limits what they can look for. To get a player of any quality and any contribution at number 46 is a pretty big deal. You know, by the time you get to that midpoint of the second round, you don't know what's going to happen. And especially around that 46th pick, you start to see agents play a bigger role in where their clients end up. Agents may want their players to end up on a specific team or their specific deals and stuff done. So look, we're going to do draft stuff. I want to talk draft. I want to make sure you understand who's available in this draft and the players the Magic could be targeting and who could matter. But I also want to warn you that very, very likely the Tuesday that the draft is taking place or the Wednesday that the first round is taking place, we're going to watch it. We're going to react to it. If something happens, something happens. But more likely than not, that episode's going to be a pretty nothing happened. We'll see what happens today. Just as the Wednesday or Thursday, I forget what day the draft is. It's still pretty far off. That Wednesday or Thursday that the second round happens, we're going to talk about who the Magic got or didn't get or what that sets up for the rest of the offseason. So, again, it's a big day. Like we're not ignoring it. We're probably not going to do heavy draft stuff this year because the Magic just don't have a draft pick. And again, we'll talk about some players here who are going to be in that 46 range. And we'll think about, okay, what are the Magic looking for? But as we do every year under Jeff Weltman, the first place we got to look is at Wingspans. I know it's a joke. I know it's a tired joke. I know it's a joke that the Magic are in on. Jeff Weltman has made jokes about Wingspan to the media. He knows that is the reputation on this team. But the bottom line is this, I made this episode last week. If you look at this team, part of what makes them unique, and this is a big philosophy that I have, is when you're a championship level team, you do something that forces the other team to adjust to you. Why should we still be optimistic about the Orlando Magic even after the season they just had? Because they took the Pistons to the brink. When Franz Wagner was healthy, they were up 3-1 because Detroit could not figure out the best team in the Eastern Conference, a 60-win team, a team that, yes, is fighting for their life once again tonight in the second round, a very flawed team that the Magic happened to match up very, very well with. But the Magic were able to take them to the brink because Paolo Banchero and Franz Wagner are two 6'10" ball handling forwards that few teams have the ability to match up directly with. They have to do things to jump them up. The Magic force you to adjust to them when they are fully healthy, even with all the flaws on the team. And that's why that window is still open. That's why the Magic still have something, and why we're not talking about trading Paolo Banchero as much as other people want us to. That's why Franz Wagner is so vital to everything the Magic do. Him and Paolo are what make this team unique and make this team work at a championship level. Everybody needs everybody. Again, we're not here to pit players against each other, although we may do that at the end a little bit here. We're not here to pit players against each other. But one thing that stood out was just kind of how small that Magic team was once they lost Franz Wagner. All of a sudden, it was Jamal Cain guarding Cade Cunningham. The one bad part about the Pistons matchup is that without Franz Wagner, the Magic did not have an elite defender to guard Cade Cunningham. And one of the things that makes this team really unique too is you have a Jalen Suggs who can guard the smaller guards and a Franz Wagner who can guard the bigger wings out there on the floor and keep a size advantage. When the Magic are fully healthy, they have almost a size advantage, or certainly a versatility advantage defensively on every single team in the league. Cleveland would have been an interesting matchup because you probably would have had Franz Wagner guarding James Harden and Jalen Suggs guarding Donovan Mitchell when the Magic faced them in 2024. When the Magic faced them in 2024, Jalen Suggs was on Darius Garland to shut him down, but you also had a strong defender in Gary Harris to handle or at least to try and impede Donovan Mitchell. Didn't do very well at that because Donovan Mitchell is just a really incredible player. But you see the point. Why the Magic are so special is because of this positional versatility and their size. Wingspan isn't just a joke. It is. We joke about it all the time when it comes to draft season. It got me singing at the beginning of the episode. Wingspan is not just a joke. It is an organizational philosophy that is vital to the success of this team. This team does not work if they don't have that length. That is essential. And maybe part of what needs to change and part of what a new coach is going to bring in is some new ideas on how to deploy that wingspan or how to work around it when you don't have it. It's why, yes, a year later, I am a bit confused by the Jace Richardson pick. I like Jace Richardson. Great kid. I think he's a fine player. He does not fit or check any of the boxes the Magic typically go for. And as we could see, the Magic didn't use him very much last year. So if the Magic are looking to get back into the back half of the first round or looking to get into pick someone in the second round that makes sense for them, wingspan's got to be a consideration. Like, wingspan has to be a major factor. We're going to get into names here in the second segment, but I want to quickly go through some of the other Magic's big needs because really what this draft talk is about, it's less about prospects. Like, again, like this is what I say during trade deadline stuff and during some of this other stuff. I'm less worried about saying like, oh, the Magic should go get this guy. Get your heart set on this guy. And if the Magic don't get him, it's a failure. I don't believe that. Like, I'm catching up on video on all these guys. The most amount of college video I watched was watching my Northwestern Wildcats in the Big Ten, watching the NCAA tournament, and then covering UCF for the Associated Press and watching some Big 12 basketball. That's the extent of the college basketball I watch. When I am in the NBA season, especially when the Magic are good and in a playoff team, I don't care about watching the prospects. Like, I care about the team and the season, and there's so many dang games. I don't really have time to watch anyone besides the teams that I care about. So I can't tell you, like AJ Advance is pretty good. I can tell you that. I can't tell you about specific prospects. I'm still catching up on them and learning about them too. So I'm not here to tell you, oh, the Magic should absolutely draft this guy, although I consider one prospect, which I'll talk about here in a minute, as a home run get one way or the other. It's less about that and more about what that prospect means as far as what the team's needs are. Obviously, the Magic need shooting. That's going to be first and foremost. I think the Magic need more athleticism. I'm a big believer right now that the team does not have very good vertical spacing. And if the team's going to struggle to shoot, and I think Jeff Waltman's right, the Magic are never going to be a top 5 3-point shooting team. That's not how they're built. That's not how they're ever going to be built. Unless Paolo Banchero and Franz Wagner both become 40% 3-point shooters. When your two stars are mid-30s 3-point shooters, and that's being generous with the way Paolo shot and the way Franz has shot over the last few years, when your two main players and two main on-ball guys are kind of mid-30s 3-point shooters and not particularly high volume, and you don't want them to be high volume, you're never going to be a great 3-point shooting team. The Magic's goal is just not to be abysmally bad. The Magic's goal is to be good enough that you have to worry about their 3-point shooting, that you can't stray off of their peripheral shooters too much. That's why Jalen Suggs struggling and shooting less than 30% in the playoffs is such a big deal. That's why getting Desmond Bane was something that elevated this team, even though it didn't always feel like it this year. That's why the Magic probably need a stretch big. But I'm also a believer that you can make up for some of your spacing issues by having vertical spacing. If the Magic are going to be so keen at attacking the basket and scoring in the paint, one way to create space is to have a lob threat. And if you have a lob threat, then teams have to keep a body on the lob threat. Because the minute you lose contact on a lob threat, you're in trouble. The Magic don't have that. Like Oka Batadze is the closest thing the Magic have to a lob threat. Anthony Black is getting better at dunking the ball, but even Paolo and Franz, like Franz has some nasty dunks, Paolo has some nasty dunks, but they're not above the rim player. So I am a big believer that the Magic need to find at least one above the rim player to kind of put pressure on the rim and put pressure on the paint with that athleticism, with that play. So with that, we got to talk about Wingspan. We're going to talk about the players you need to know as we get closer to the draft and as the draft combine ends. We'll get to that coming up here in just a moment. But first, today's episode of Locked On Magic is brought to you by our friends over at Game Time. There's nothing like playoff basketball live. The intensity, the crowd, the rivalries. It's a completely different experience when you are in the building. The NBA playoffs are where unforgettable moments happen, and being there in person just hits different. Game Time makes it incredibly easy to find tickets, even for those hard-to-get playoff games, in just a few taps. And with the Game Time guarantee, you know you're getting 100% authentic tickets on time at the best price. Whether you're looking to go to a concert or whether you're looking to go to a soccer game, Orlando City's in town this week to play Atlanta United. Big rivalry against the Five Stripes. Orlando City coming off a shaky but needed win on Wednesday against Philadelphia Union. I'm thinking about going. And if I want to go and make it a last decision, Game Time's where I'm going to go to get the best price on tickets, whether I'm sitting in the wall, whether I'm sitting in the regular stands. I know I will get a good price, especially right before kickoff, if I'm going to go last second, by buying on Game Time. That's the truth of it all. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code LOCKEDON, LOCKEDON, for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Today's episode of Locked On Magic is also brought to you by friends over at DoorDash. Postseason is heating up, and DoorDash has a way to keep fans in their bag the whole way through. Whether you're watching the highlights, the tunnel fits, or just your favorite player, DoorDash makes the entire season more fun. Because every player has their bag, with DoorDash, fans have one too. DoorDash keeps your snacks stocked, your gear fresh, and your watch party vibes absolutely on point. With DoorDash, you can drown away those sorrows after a loss or celebrate those big wins by getting that post-game dessert that you need, because ice cream solves all problems, and DoorDash has ice cream. If the group chat says pull up, DoorDash makes sure you show up prepared with everything you need for that big party. DoorDash is your ticket from tip-off to overtime. Stay in your bag and order on DoorDash. Get snacks, drinks, gear, whatever gets you through the season, delivered right to your door. DoorDash in your bag all season long. We want to thank you again for making Locked On Magic part of your day every day. I want to thank everyone for letting me do some afternoon episodes. Like I said, I'm kind of in off-season mode right now, so you might get a few more afternoon episodes, some more noon episodes. If that's a problem, please let me know. I want to serve you. I see the traffic. It's okay. I'm going to try and get back on schedule, back to morning episodes when I can, but I might be a little looser on the schedule here this offseason. So I want to thank you for making Locked On Magic part of your day whenever I am part of your day. Truly appreciate all the listens. If you want to take your Locked On fandom to the next level, check out our Everydayer Club. With the Everydayer Club, you get access to our ad-free audio feed as well as access to our Locked On Discord server. On our Locked On Discord server, one of our Locked On Everydayer Club members pitched his idea for the Magic's offseason. I'm actually going to dive a little bit into that next week, I think. I'm going to dive into some of those ideas he had in there. So if you want to influence the show directly, chat with me directly, the Locked On Magic Discord server is the way to go. Learn more about our Locked On Everydayer Club at lockedonmagic.supercast.com. That's lockedonmagic.supercast.com. Before we dive into names, and we're just going to look at wingspans today. Like we know that's what the Magic like. We know they're a big wingspan team. We're going to talk wingspans, and we're going to talk the players with the biggest wingspans and that are in the Magic's range and gettable for the Magic, and what they bring to the table. So these are just names to know. I have no information that the Magic are interested in these players. I don't know who the Magic ended up interviewing at the draft combine. As I think I note every year, draft combine interviews are assigned by the league. They do not replace the full interview. And oftentimes teams will kind of put a wish list of players that they would like to interview that are kind of beyond their reach just because they're not going to get them in their building. So I don't read too deeply into who the team actually interviews at the combine because they are assigned by the league. I would hope that the Magic spent a lot of their combine time talking to players kind of in that mid-first round that they wouldn't get otherwise. Get some intel on them because those are the players you could be trading for in 2-3 years. And so that time together, like I remember this story, and it may or may not mean anything to you, but I always remember the story, and it really changed my perspective on what the combine is. Rob Hennigan, when the Magic acquired Tobias Harris, mentioned that that the Thunder had interviewed Tobias Harris at the combine, knowing they were not going to take him, knowing that he wasn't in their range, that he wasn't a player that they were seriously considering where they were picking, but they interviewed him there. Rob Hennigan was part of that interview, and he used that intelligence that he gained from that interview to say, Tobias Harris is a guy that we want on our team. Look at Tobias Harris now. Certified Magic Killer. I think I could give Tobias Harris certified Magic Killer. He always comes up big for revenge games, as Magic fans know, when he was playing with the Magic. Sorry, Milwaukee. But the combine matters for that reason. So we don't want to ignore it. And again, I don't know who the Magic interviewed. I don't know who they got. Neither I nor Jason were at the combine. Why would we go? We don't have first round pick. There is one first round pick though that I do want to mention as like kind of the Magic player. A guy, if the Magic go get this guy, I would be really, really, really excited. Cameron Carr Baylor. I mentioned him the last time. Every time I watch video of him and every time I see him play or kind of read stuff about him, I kind of think like this is a Magic player. This is a Magic guy. And one thing that I am concerned about is the Magic just don't have a lot of depth in their wings. They don't have just guys who can score. Like I want guys who can put the ball in the basket. So not only, typically when you think of the guys with long wingspans, you're like, oh, these uber athletes that can just kind of fly around. Look, Cameron Carr was projected to go in the 20s or late teens or mid-teens. I think he was the clear winner of the draft combine. I think he's going in the lottery now. I think he's going to be a lottery pick, so I think he's going to be just beyond the Magic's reach. Orlando has a history of drafting just the wings with the longest wingspans. Wes Iwundu, Melvin Frazier come to mind. Cameron Carr measured at 6'4.5" without shoes, with a 7'0.75" wingspan. Averaged 18.9 points per game, shot 37.4% on 6.1 3-point attempts per game. He's a great straight line drive attacker. He's not going to be asked to be your lead player, but Cameron Carr projects to be like the best 3-and-D wing in this draft. Again, 37.4% on 6.1 3-point attempts. He made, I think, 6 threes in the scrimmage on Wednesday. 6 of 12 from 3 for 30 points in the scrimmage Wednesday. Did not need to play in the scrimmage Thursday. He actually also had one of the best vertical jumps among guards. Not even among guards in the entire draft combine. 42.5-inch max vertical leap, 38-inch standing vertical leap. It was among the best in the combine. Cameron Carr probably made himself a lottery pick. So maybe throw him out, maybe keep his name in mind. That guy screamed to me, I am a Magic type player. I want to note also his teammate, Tunde Yesufu. Tunde Yesufu measured at 6'4" with a 6'10" wingspan. He averaged 17.8 points per game. Not much of a shooter. But again, we're talking wingspans here. For a wing, for a guard to have that kind of a wingspan, put him on the logs, like kind of log him as like, okay, this is a guy that we got to think about a little bit. A name that stuck out to me, as far as wings go, is Aaron Nkrumah. Aaron Nkrumah went to Tennessee State. ESPN has him in the 90s on their big board, so drafting him at 46 might be a stretch. But again, when you get to the draft, it's about agent deals and where agents want their clients to go. He's 6'5" with a 6'10.25" wingspan. He averaged an Ohio Valley Conference leading 17.7 points and 2.8 steals per game. Inefficient at 43.8%, which does not bode well coming from a smaller conference. But again, he probably had to be a bigger time scorer. I didn't put down his shooting numbers. If you give me a chance to stall, I can go look those up real fast. But again, like you're looking at a guy from a smaller conference. I don't know if you spend a draft pick on him. He shot 35.1% last year on 4.6 3-point attempts per game. But again, a lot of it on the ball. 2.8 steals per game. Looking for a guy with a long wingspan, can defend. He'll get a summer league invite somewhere, and I wouldn't be shocked if he shines a little bit summer league. That's kind of a lesser known name guy. We'll get to the bigs here in a minute. There's one more wing I want to mention as far as guys with long wingspans. Let me see here. I got his name written down here somewhere. I would look at Ryan Conwell as well. Ryan Conwell from Louisville had one of the best stays in Thursday scrimmage. He made 5 threes on his way to 21 points. He was a 34.5% three-point shooter on 9.6 attempts per game at Louisville. So high volume. 37.6% shooter on 6.7 attempts per game in his career. He bounced around USF, Indiana State, Xavier, Louisville. That's USF, South Florida. He measured at 6'2" without shoes, but a 6'7" wingspan, 214.8 pounds. So he's a big dude for a smaller guard. We can debate whether the Magic should draft another smaller guard because they got Jace Richardson last year. But he's another name I would look at. I'd have my eye on Baba Miller as well. I know that Florida State fans probably have some shell shock with him. He is not a good shooter. He's definitely more of a straight 4. And his ability to play in the NBA is going to depend on how he's able to shoot. But 6'10.5" without shoes, 7'1.5" wingspan. He does play like a wing. He's not like a low post scorer. He's a decent mid-range shooter. He probably plays a little too much like a star, I think, to make it in the NBA. But I have Baba Miller on my list. I want guys who just know how to put the ball in the basket. That's a big thing that I'm looking for. He had 20.6 rebounds in Wednesday scrimmage. 3-point shots got to improve, but I want guys who just know how to put the ball in the basket. Like that is a big thing I'm looking for. Let's talk about the bigs. Let's talk about the centers then. I think more likely than not, the Magic use their second round pick or use their draft capital this year to go get a center. The guards in the range that we're talking about, there is some flaw that's going to keep them from being drafted. You know, like someone like Toby Lawal from Virginia Tech had the highest max vertical leap at 45.5 inches, best standing vertical leap at 40 inches, but he shot only 25% from 3. And Toby Lawal is more of a wing power forward. Shot 37.1% in 2025. Career 76.3% free throw shooting, but career 67% career free throw shooting. There's some flaw in every wing. With the bigs, it's just size. And the question is, okay, can they do more than just be big? And again, like you're drafting at 47, you're accepting some flaw. If I can get a big who is long and rangy, can play above the rim, and just do putbacks, like that's valuable to me. That's all I need. And I think obviously the top candidate, and Gator fans are going to love me for this, the top candidate when it comes to bigs is Ruben Chinyelu. Before the draft combine, I would have said like Ruben Chinyulu probably won't be there at 42 or 46, but there's a chance he might be. I'm at the point now, and Chinyulu had a really good combine. Just measured well, played well in the scrimmage. It's still a debate whether he's going to go back to Florida or not. I think if he went back to Florida, had a really good year for them, they won another national championship and then enter the draft, I think he'd be a surefire first round pick next year. So I wouldn't be shocked. And that's like kind of the problem now with the draft as well, is especially later in the second round, like there are only 71 early entry candidates this year. Early entry candidates were down by like 20, 30 players this year. More players are going back to school because the money's there. Like they'll make more money. They can wait. They can make money. They can make a lot of money. Like a guy that Magic fans should know, and a guy that Magic fans should be like, please come out in the draft. Please come out in the draft. We'll take you. Milan Momcilovic of Iowa State. Sorry if I butchered that pronunciation. He's the best shooter in the draft. Like hands down, best shooter in the draft. 16.9 points per game, Big 12 leading 48.7% on 7.5 attempts per game. That is insane to shoot that well, even from the college line. But he's still projected as a second-round pick because he's just a shooter at this point. And he's in the transfer portal, and everybody is going to offer him a ton of money to go play there. So there's a good chance the best shooter in this year's draft is going to go back to school to make money because he's a second-round pick. I don't know why he's a second-round pick. I got to watch more tape. But that's kind of the situation Ruben Chinyulu is in. To me, Ruben Chinyulu is like an Isaiah Stewart. Like, I think he's going to be better than Isaiah Stewart. Ruben Chinyulu, I'm a Gator, first off. Like, I know I'm wearing my Northwestern gear today, but I'm a Gator, first off. I've watched enough Ruben Chinyulu to know, like, that dude is a winning player. And I find it really hard to believe that he's not going to go in the first round. And I find it really hard to believe that if he didn't go back to school, he wouldn't be a near lottery pick next year. His skills are kind of rounded out. He's a rebounder. He's a grinder. He's not there. You're not going to give the ball to him and he's going to score. He's there to scavenge. And he's going to do all those little things that help you win. And it helps that he is 6'9" without shoes. So a little on the smaller side, but a 7'7.5" wingspan. And like, look, his photo is in the thumbnail. That dude is strong. Like he is a winning player. 10.9 points per game, SEC leading 11.2 rebounds per game last year, 1 block per game. And again, the only thing that might throw him back is that he's on the smaller side. He's 6'9" without shoes. So he's probably 6'10" in shoes. But he's just a big, strong dude. Reminds me a lot of Patrick Young, another former Gator, who I'm a big fan of. I loved Patrick Young in Florida. One of the reasons I don't like Billy Donovan is he ignores centers, or he takes centers like Ruben Chinyulu, Patrick Young, and just turns them into grinders instead of making them actual offensive players. The reason why Florida won a national championship because Al Horford was really that's your bonus Billy Donovan take right there. Chinyulu had 13.5 rebounds and 19-24 in the scrimmage on Wednesday. I don't think he's going to be there at 46, but Chinyulu is like at the top of my board of guys that if the Magic don't trade up significantly, Chinyulu is like the top of my board of I want him in a Magic jersey. That guy is a winning player. You're not expecting him to change your franchise, but he's the kind of player you need to win at the highest levels. A couple first-round guys to look at are Jaden Quaintance. Quaintance should be first-round pick just on potential alone. Measured at 6'9" without shoes, 7'5" and 5.25 wingspan. Played only 5 games last year because he's coming back from an ACL. So the ACL's done. He came back early to play for Kentucky. I'd like to see him go back, but he's going to be a first-round pick because he's just really, really bouncy, good shot blocker. That athleticism returns again. That's why I think he should go back and prove himself in Kentucky. But because Kentucky's going to be pretty good next year, especially if they get Momcilovic. But there's that. I like Chris Sinak Jr. from Houston. Like, you have to be a good defender to play at Houston. So he has that background. He's a freshman. He's going to get better. Still very raw. Can't do much around the outside of the basket, but measured 6'10.25" without shoes, 7'5" wingspan. Morris Johnson from Michigan, good defensive anchor, still refining his skills. Again, young guy, 6'9.5" without shoes, 7'3.5" wingspan. Previewed some improvements in his shooting skills. At the combine. We don't have the shooting drill numbers yet. And then the last name I want to mention is Flory Badunga. Flory Badunga of Kansas, measured with a 40.5-inch max vertical leap, 34-inch standing vertical leap. So big jumper, big leaper. Was stellar at Kansas last year, 13.3 points, 9 rebounds per game, 2.6 blocks per game. Again, a big thing that I'm looking for, ability to play above the rim. He was 6'7.75" without shoes, so he's on the smaller side for a center. I don't think he plays power forward in the NBA. That's why he's kind of in and out and why he could be available with the Magic at 46. But a 7'3.25" wingspan. So he makes up for his lack of size with a long wingspan. He's always going to be a bench player because of that size, unless his shooting improves. Kansas uses him as a center, as a power forward. He got into foul trouble when UCF played Kansas, so we didn't get to see a lot of him. That's how it always goes with me watching prospects. But Badunga seems like half in, half out. I think he's trying to wait for a first round, and I think if he does, he'll stay at Kansas next year. But Badunga should definitely be on the list if he stays for the Magic. Again, we're talking about the 46th pick in the draft. I want to repeat that. We are talking about the 46th pick in the draft. And so you're not going to get the perfect guy. That's just not, you're going to get someone with some extreme flaw. And a lot of the names I talked about probably aren't 46. We'll talk more about who those prospects to look at will be when we get closer and closer to the draft. And the order starts to, the order at 46, who the heck knows? And again, the way the second round works is it's so agent orchestrated now. It's not, oh, we want this guy, we're going to take him. It's the agent saying like, hey, we'd like to play for Orlando, or hey, we're willing to take a two-way contract and defer our second round contract if you take us, and the Magic will take him. So, like, in all likelihood, the Magic are taking their two-way player. But we saw with Jamal Cain how valuable a two-way player can be. So we'll see. We got a long way to go before the draft, but those are some names to keep an eye on. To close today's show, I want to respond to something that was talked about on Locked On NBA yesterday about the Magic's decision. They reacted to me. I'm going to react to them. We'll talk about the Magic's big guard question coming up here in just a moment. But first, today's episode of Locked On Magic is brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel. The NBA playoffs are here, and every possession matters. If you're looking to get even closer to the action, FanDuel has a great offer to get you started. Right now, new customers can get $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. That's right, turn $5 into $150 in bonus bets just for getting started. I like using FanDuel during the playoffs because everything I need is right there in one place. You can check stats, trends, and matchups before making your picks, which makes the whole experience feel a lot more informed. If you're looking to get in on tonight's Game 6 action for the first time all playoffs, the Detroit Pistons are underdogs, 4.5-point dogs. They weren't even underdogs for Game 6 in Orlando a couple weeks ago. Game 6 tonight in Cleveland, Pistons 4.5-point underdogs to extend that series to a Game 7. Similarly, the Minnesota Timberwolves, 5.5-point underdogs to extend their series. The FanDuel sees both series ending tonight, and we'll be seeing some Game 1s in the conference. We'll see a Game 1 in the conference finals on Sunday, one way or the other. But we'll find out. That's why we play the game. Should be a fun night of NBA action today. Get it on the action with FanDuel. Head to FanDuel.com to get started. FanDuel, play your game. Today's episode of Locked On Magic is also brought to you by our friends over at Indeed. Workplace chaos, deadlines stacking up, inbox overflowing, and the one position you have to fill still sitting open. When the pressure is on and you need the right hire, this is a job for Sponsored Jobs. Indeed Sponsored Jobs helps you reach people who actually fit what you're looking for. Skills, experience, location. So you're not just hoping the right candidate stumbles across your post. And here's a stat that says it all. In the minute that I'll be talking to you today, companies like yours made 27 hires on Indeed, according to Indeed data worldwide. So if you're hiring, spend less time searching and more time interviewing candidates who check all your boxes with Indeed Sponsored Jobs. Listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to help get your job the premium status it deserves at Indeed.com/podcast. Just go to Indeed.com/podcast right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? This is a job for Indeed Sponsored Jobs. The Orlando Magic have a lot of hard decisions this offseason. Like, obviously, I don't think, like I said yesterday, I don't think the Magic are at some major breaking point. Like, I don't think that, the Magic need to abandon their project. I don't think the Magic, after the struggles of this season, need to say, oh, we got to go all in or we're in some panic mode. No, I do agree with Jeff Weltman. There are a lot of good bones here. The structure is good. But unfortunately, like, team rebuilding is like a Jenga tower. And this isn't some early part of the game where you're just kind of removing pieces willy-nilly. This is a part of the game where you're thinking like, oh, I'm going to take, if you play Jenga, I'm going to take that piece out, and then you start to poke at it a little bit, and the tower starts to shake. This is not the turn that's going to knock the tower down and end the game. There's still ways out of what the Magic are doing, but this is a critical part of the game. Maybe chess is a better. We're like in the mid game of a chess match. I think I used that right. Where the outcome is going to be determined for this group right now. We're not in the end game yet. We're not, again, anyone saying the Magic should trade Paolo Banchero is just looking for clicks and headlines like this guy is. We're not at that part of the game yet. We're not at the, okay, this isn't working, we got to start over, or we got to reset something major. We're in the mid game where, okay, the opening gambit, it worked or didn't. The board is set up how it's set up. How do we get ourselves to an advantageous end game? How do we get ourselves moving forward in a game that we expect is going to last a little bit? And obviously, like, a big piece, and this team is at a crossroads. The Magic are hiring a new coach. The Magic have to get that coach right. We've talked about some names here and there. For the first time, stable with some stability. Sean Sweeney is considered the favorite on some of the prediction markets. I don't know why that's the case. I don't know where that information is coming from, but we'll see. The Magic have to get the coach right. That changes everything. As Jeff Weltman said, aside from acquiring a star player, nothing impacts a team more than the right head coach. And that's where we're sitting right now. Yes, on yesterday's show, I talked about the crossroads the Magic are at with Jalen Suggs, and started to frame the debate. I don't know where I stand on it. I'm sorry if I didn't make that clear yesterday, but I don't know where I stand as far as whether the Magic should trade Jalen Suggs or not. The only thing I know is they have to think about it. With the way he struggled in the playoffs, his health issues, his struggles in the playoffs, his health issues, the need for a point guard, his salary, and just what you can get for that salary, you have to consider it. I said it. I frame it this way: the Magic don't have to trade Jalen Suggs this summer, but they have to know what that trade looks like. And so you have to go through the thought exercise, and you have to go like, okay, what's out there? What can we get for Jalen Suggs? I would argue that his salary makes it a really attractive contract because you have an Anthony Black waiting in the wings. Typically when you trade high-priced veterans, it's because you have a young guy who needs more playing time. And look, Anthony Black averaged more points per game than Jalen Suggs, is a really solid defender. I wouldn't say he's as good of a defender as Jalen Suggs, but he's a really solid defender. He's certainly more willing to shoot off the dribble. I don't think he's as good of a three-point shooter, even if the three-point percentages are virtually the same. He's really good at shooting off the dribble, which is a skill I think the Magic need. I don't think he's as good of a playmaker. But the Magic are going to be in this debate, especially because Anthony Black's extension is coming due, and I don't know if the Magic can wait to sign that extension before making this decision. Again, it just depends how deep into the tax and how deep into the aprons, especially, the Magic are willing to go. When I have asked why the Magic made the decision they're making with Jonathan Isaac, I was told directly, we've got to sign Anthony Black. They've got to sign Anthony Black. Anthony Black is already forcing some key financial decisions. And I'm someone that still thinks that the Magic should be trying to trade Jonathan Isaac. If the Magic can get $14.5 million player back or $14 million player back for Jonathan Isaac, they should, instead of letting that lapse or letting it sit as dead money. Now, there's reporting that the Magic could extend the $8 million that they'll owe Jonathan Isaac over the next 7 years. That would be the 3 years left on his contract times 2 + 1. I'm not sold that's the right idea. I'd almost rather just pay it now when the team is still like cheaper, and then be done with it and be free of it moving forward. Again, you're not going to be able to spend that money anyway. You're not creating cap for anything anyway. Just eat it now and be done. We'll see. But I think with Jalen Suggs, like, yeah, that $35 million, you could turn that into a $20 million player and a $15 million player. Even if one of those is a bad contract per se, you can get some value. Even guys on bad contracts, they were worth that at some point. So maybe a different context, a different team makes them worth it again or closer to that value. Our friends over at Locked On NBA, our good friend Matt Moore of on Locked On NBA, responded to my argument about Jalen Suggs on yesterday's afternoon show. And they're talking about the kind of secret trade market that's already developed, like guys like Joel Embiid, Jamal Murray, guys that are on teams that have been eliminated from the playoffs that now have to make decisions about their team. They put Alperen Şengün on that list. And so there is a trade market developing. And yeah, Jalen Suggs is going to be on that list and deservedly on that list. And Matt Moore made this argument. I would rather trade high on Anthony Black than trade Jalen Suggs because what Jalen Suggs does to this team is so important. And I can't agree more on that last point that yes, the Magic have to be careful about trading Jalen Suggs because for all his struggles and all his frustrations, he is this team's heart and soul. You can look at the stats, you can look at the numbers. The Magic are significantly better with Jalen Suggs on the floor than anybody else outside of Franz Wagner. Jalen Suggs and Franz Wagner really make this team's defense work. And when they're both on the floor together, the Magic's defense is beyond elite. Magic's defense might be the best in the league. No offense to Oklahoma City, no offense to San Antonio. It's top 5, top 3 in the league. And not having both of those guys on the floor at the same time all season long was a huge frustration. And then when you look at Anthony Black's numbers, and yeah, a lot of it came with Franz Wagner out. A lot of it came with Jalen Suggs out. Even the starting lineup with Anthony Black in for Jalen Suggs was rough. It doesn't work as well. And so maybe the solution to the problem is, yeah, maybe sell high on Anthony Black. You're not willing to pay him $25 million a year, as Zach Lowe has said repeatedly. Anthony Black should be getting the same deal Jalen Suggs got. If you're not willing to give him that, maybe now is the time to trade him. The problem is he's still on his rookie contract. And so for a team that is above the cap, that is above the luxury tax, that is going to be near the first April this year, trading Anthony Black is really difficult because you can only take back $10 million. Now, maybe you package him with Goga Bitadze and you can get $18 million. Maybe you package him with Jonathan Isaac, and now that's up to $24 million you can take back. And then that team can save $6.5 million by cutting Jonathan Isaac. Ultimately, a lot of what the Magic are going to do in the trade market is dependent on how deep into the tax they're willing to go. They're already prepared to be a tax team for the first time since 2012. They already know that's happening. And then it's all about getting the right player. Unfortunately, I do kind of think this guard debate isn't about who's better on the team or who's better for the team individually. I think it's going to be about what the Magic can get and how much better that makes this team. This is a debate that certainly deserves a little bit more consideration, a little deeper dive than I want to give it today because I'm already well over my time and I'm already posting this way too late in the day to be successful. But this is a central debate for this offseason. And I think we have been pushing this debate off too, thinking like, oh, it's fine. Resign AB, we could figure it out down the road. They're both really good players. Why give up good players when you don't have to? And I agree with that sentiment completely. But secretly, or not so secretly, we all know the Magic have to make a choice at some point. The Magic aren't going to be able to just run this back over and over and over and over again. They're going to have to make a choice. They're going to have to decide between these players. The tax won't let them. That's the apron reality. It's the reason why the Nuggets might put Aaron Gordon on the block. I've had Nuggets people pitch me Aaron Gordon trades. I'm not joking. The apron era of the NBA is here, and it forces you into these really tough choices that inevitably make your roster worse. And so there is something to getting out in front of it to try and make your roster better. And that's sort of the crossroads the Magic are at this offseason. And maybe that's how the Magic get into the second round, get back into the first round this year in the draft to bring it full circle. Maybe that's why we do need to know these first round players like Cameron Carr and Ruben Chinyelu and Moritz Johnson and all these guys. But these questions aren't going away anytime soon. And the Magic as an organization have about 6 weeks before draft night, when all this stuff starts to get enacted and moved. They have 6 weeks to know what these players are worth and what their plan is to make this team better. We're going to dive into free agents. I'm going to talk about the free agent situation next week. We're going to talk about a whole lot of stuff about this team and their future over the next 6 weeks. But that's going to do it for me today. I want to thank you all again for listening to today's episode of Locked On Magic. I want to thank you again for helping make the Locked On Podcast Network the #1 sports podcast network. We want to thank you again for checking us out wherever you do, whether it's on Apple Music, Stitcher, TuneIn, Himalaya, Google Play, Spotify, Odyssey, all the places to download podcasts to your podcast-enabled listening device. You can check us out on YouTube as well. Just search for Locked On Magic. For the latest on the Orlando Magic, be sure to check out OrlandoMagicDaily.com. You can find us there on Twitter at OMagicDaily. And for even more Orlando Magic content, be sure to check out my Patreon page, Orlando Magic Hub. I'm doing my What Went Right, What Went Wrong series, 2-week series. This is week 1. So we've done 3, or this will be my third What Went Right. We'll start with our third What Went Wrong next week, and then we'll do the final 2, and then we'll do player evaluations after that. That's only going up on my Patreon this year. So check it out at patreon.com/Orlando Magic Hub. You can also check out our Everydayer Club at lockedonmagic.supercast.com. That's lockedonmagic.supercast.com. As always, thank you for your support. For those of you on video, we're going to send you the first ever 24/7 national NBA YouTube channel. On audio, make sure you make your second listen NBA Game Night on Locked On NBA. Always check out Locked On NBA. They do a great job covering every aspect of the league and all of these series as we get to the conference finals. Check them out today. I want you all to have a great weekend. Thanks for letting me post some late episodes. Again, let me know if you're annoyed by these late episodes. I will get back to doing evening episodes for the mornings, if that's the case. On our next episode of Locked On Magic, though, we're going to talk about the state of the Eastern Conference. I've had a lot of Magic fans come up to me and say the Magic blew an opportunity to wide open Eastern Conference. I'm here to tell you the East is still very wide open. We'll talk about why the Magic are no longer inevitable, and also why the Magic still have every chance to win in the East. We'll get to that on our next episode of Locked On Magic for Monday. But until then, for Orlando Magic Daily and Locked On Magic, this has been Philip Rossman. Have a great weekend, everyone. We'll see you all again next time for another episode of Locked On Magic.